I know you can feel that these are crazy times, that something big is about to happen. And we have three things contributing to this that I think are the most interesting. One is we have the government is stealing your and my money in the form of printing dollars out of thin air, also known as currency debasement. We have AI about to take over the world in some way, shape, or form. And then we have UAP, unidentified aerial phenomenon, flying around the skies and the oceans, and we have star-studded military personnel swearing under oath that this is true to Congress. And so I want to talk about each one of those three things, the currency debasement, the AI, and the UAPs, to share how I'm dealing with it, and hopefully it will be interesting to you because I'm just so passionate about all these topics. So the number one thing that I think is the present moment pressing issue is that our money is being stolen by our government in the form of them printing dollars. And as you know from supply and demand, if there's the same amount of goods but more dollars, then suddenly those dollars become worth less. So what do we do about that? Well, we have to protect our money. We have to put our money into assets that hold their value and actually substantially outperform the rate of inflation. So currencies being debased, you'll hear people mention anywhere from, like, in terms of real purchasing power, between like 7 and 15% a year. So call it 10% a year. So you need, if you're making 10% a year in like the S&P 500, you're basically maintaining the value of your money. However, if they start printing faster, then you'll start losing money. So there are only two assets that have real scarcity. Well, there's actually only one asset in the world that has real scarcity, and that's Bitcoin. It's the only thing in the world that is actually perfectly scarce, engineered to be scarce. So that's why people are investing in Bitcoin. People also are investing into gold, which is like the second best after Bitcoin, in my opinion. And so I highly recommend you get educated on the question of what is money. Find out what are like the 5 to 7 properties of perfect money. And when you go down that rabbit hole and you look at, okay, money needs to be scarce, it needs to be portable, it needs to be fungible, it needs to be divisible, it needs to be durable. And you look at what's the only thing in the world that has those 5 properties, it's Bitcoin. So I would recommend investing. I have about a lot of my portfolio in Bitcoin, and I recommend you do too. Whatever's safe for you. I recommend you make your own decisions, but I would highly recommend looking into it. The second thing, I could have a whole 10-minute video just on Bitcoin and hard, good assets, but I want to talk about AI for a second. What do we do about AI? We have these people in Silicon Valley that are like, basically think that they're God, like Mark Zuckerberg and Sam Altman and Elon Musk, who like just are steamrolling us towards AI superintelligence. And Elon actually talks a bit about how dangerous that is, but Sam Altman and Mark Zuckerberg are like, we need to get there as fast as possible. The problem with that is once you have superintelligence, you have no idea what it's going to do. It's like if ants were working so hard to create human intelligence. Think about how that went for the ants. Think if ants were like the apex predator on Earth, and then they created humans, like scientist ants created humans. It would not go well for them, you know? Because even though you and I, we probably both love ourselves an ant, or at least we don't hate it, but if we want to build our house, or we want to take a nice walk and an anthill happens to be there, sorry ants, you're getting stepped on, you're getting ripped out of the ground. Like, you know, I don't intentionally step on anthills personally, but you get the point. Imagine if we have something that's that much more intelligent than us, we might be cooked. You don't know. And so I think it's just, we need to have better regulations for safety around that. But since people probably won't, in the meantime, what can you actually control about it? You can do one of two things, in my view. You can either integrate more AI intelligence into your work, so that way you become harder to replace by AI because you're actually using AI to do a better job at what you do. Or you can lean really heavy into in-person kind of businesses and experiences, because as AI grows, people will want more human connection. I know, it's a lot. It's a lot. I think about this often, and I don't think anyone has a good answer right now, but I think it brings me to the most important point, which is actually like UAPs and extraterrestrial intelligence, because that's coming. You know, we have had about 4 congressional hearings that were public, where people like David Grush, Commander David Fravor, all sorts of pristine record, perfectly trustworthy military officials are coming forward in droves, just being like, these things exist, they pose a safety threat to our space, to our aerial crafts, like our jets and stuff like that. Not that they're actively attacking us, but they're like flying really close to us and stuff like that. And they can outperform anything that our best tech can do. So it's of my personal opinion, after having done probably a decade of research on this, that extraterrestrials very much exist. They have been interfacing with the Earth since the beginning of time. And we're about to enter a period where they're going to make themselves known much more obviously, where it's undeniable. And I think that's going to happen within the next 10 years. So the reason I think that that's the most important point is not because of aliens themselves, but because of what the implications of contact with them will be. For one, I think it will teach us a lot about the nature of consciousness, and it will teach us the fundamental, most important truth of reality, which is that we are all one consciousness. We are all one intelligent being knowing itself through the illusion of separation. That's basically what all spiritual teachings boil down to, is that we are one. And that the one is experiencing itself through physical reality and through infinite other dimensions and manifestations. And so I think the most important thing in these times is developing a deeper connection with your own spirituality, and deepening your practice through meditation, through connecting with like-minded people who are also deepening in their spiritual journey, and through whatever else you want to do to responsibly deepen your spiritual experience. So the reason that that's so important is because, like, we might die from AI. You know what I mean? Like, we actually might die from AI, and I feel sad saying that. And I'm an optimist, and I hope that's not true, and I hope that if AI becomes super intelligent, or when it does, that it happens to align with, it starts to understand these fundamental truths of reality and treats us all like the oneness that we are. However, I don't know if that will happen. And no matter what happens, if you have a connection to your spiritual nature, then you understand that you also exist beyond death. And that, yeah, I mean, that's hard to follow that up in a sentence. You exist beyond death. Your consciousness is just experiencing itself as a physical body, but when you die, you will understand with complete certainty and knowing that you are a non-physical consciousness that is made of love and light and pure beingness. So, deepening in your spiritual practice will turn that conceptual knowledge into knowing. That's That's a beautiful process. That's like the most meaningful transition, going from conceptual spirituality to knowing. And then from there, you know, that becomes your foundation. From that foundation, you can really start to relax into the chaos of life in a certain way. And still, you know, all the other stuff is still important. Like, still take care of your family, still invest in assets that protect your energy, aka your money. Still adapt to the current times and do your best to be a kind, contributing member of society. And know thyself. That's the deepest. Know thyself. Know thy deepest nature. So that, my friends, is pretty much like the three main things I think about. And I feel sad thinking that this might make you feel worse or make you feel sad. That was not my intention. But I think I'm also feeling my own sadness, and maybe the sadness of the world, of a lot of people feeling confused at these crazy times that we're living in, and feeling like there's a lot of fear going on, you know? And so I just wanted to be real about that too. I feel fear sometimes thinking about AI, thinking about money. Aliens are actually not scary to me. I'm excited for them to arrive more, obviously. But yeah, that's what I've been thinking about. Feel free to drop a comment or DM me if you want to talk about this more. Sending lots of love, and hope this was interesting and helpful to you. Peace.